You all right, man?
I keep looking.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Chris Vitali.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, sports fans. I'm Chris Vitali, and welcome back to the second episode of the BallNine Roundhouse Southpaw Show. I am joined today by, I'll go around, Wayne Franklin. How are you today, buddy?
Perfect.
All right, well, that's you really can't ask for more than that.
Nope.
And next to him, we have Glendon Rusch back with us. What's going on, brother?
Oh, happy to be here.
All right. We're going to go next to Will Ohman is back with us with the spirit of Bill Pulsipher looking over his shoulder. How you doing, Will?
If I was doing any better, I'd be Bill.
There you go.
All right, that's Jesus. And then we have our ombudsman, Rocco Constantino, with us. How's
it going?
Buddy?
Doing great.
Good.
The lead off.
Talking about something that Will brought up in the group text, which is a real hoot. Luis Castillo this week threw 47 fastballs in a row. I loved it. I know you guys probably love that, but let Will start with that one since you brought it up. And what do you think about that action?
It just reminded me of one of the guys who's on right now. It just situation dictated, throw heaters, and when the hitter isn't telling you to change, don't change. So it was just awesome to see. I mean, we got stuck in we've been stuck in probably a 5-6 year rut of trying to trick the hitter, and we've watched strikeouts go bananas, but we've also watched walks go bananas. And the fact of the matter is the most effective guys get hitters to swing, and if they're swinging and getting out, keep throwing the same thing. It's not rocket science. So it was very refreshing to watch. Not saying go out there and that's your game plan every day, because you're probably going to get waffled. But on a given day, everything's lining up. Just keep throwing it.
Glendon, your thoughts on the 47 straight fastballs?
Yeah, I mean, if you're having success, keep doing it. And it does show you, though, if you command the ball the way you want to, and that fastball via two-seam, via four-seam, in multiple quadrants around the zone become a bunch of different pitches, regardless of if there's no change of speeds, just movement and command. So it was cool to see. I mean, it's fun. That's the retro version of pitching, right, that we used to see in 10, 20, 30 years ago. If a situation dictated, like Will said, with a 7-8 run lead, you're going to go out there and you're not going to walk anybody, and you're going to be aggressive and make them hit your fastball.
Awesome. Wayne, how about you?
47. I think it's how we were all taught to pitch. Don't make adjustments till the hitters do. And if they're not adjusting to that, then why would you oblige them and throw them something else? It's kind of like Mariano Rivera. Mariano Rivera threw, a cutter to every quadrant of the strike zone. And that's essentially 4 different pitches. And so if you can do that with cutter, you can do it with a fastball. And Castillo's got a lot of movement, so why not?
Yeah. I mean, do you guys think that there's an over-reliance right now on the breaking ball? Like, are guys just trying to throw it now, with the sweeper and what have you? I mean, do you think that there's too much?
That's not a real thing,
as
by the
you
way.
said, trickery. I agree with you 100%. And
it's like Twitter being a real place. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a location.
It is, yeah. But I mean, do you think that? I mean, is there an over-reliance on that and pitch shaping and just trying to fool these hitters with breaking balls, and not enough guys just going straight after hitters and throwing a fastball? I mean, just commanding a fastball and throwing it. Will, what do you think about that one? And
Glendon,
please tell me your feelings on the sweeper.
Yeah, Glendon, start the timer.
Well, I think I'll start. I think the reliance.
You just hijacked.
Full on, pulled you out of the cab of the truck and everything.
Love it.
I think the reliance on breaking balls has definitely changed. Although I look back and think I probably would have spun my breaking ball a little bit more than I did. If I were in today's game and had today's information. The only difference is I think that more guys now need to go back to getting outs with your fastball. Especially as a starter, if you're going to be successful in the big leagues, you have to be able to get outs with your fastball. That's the bottom line. I don't think that's ever going to change. The specialty relievers, whole different story.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, Will, timer. The clock is on you now.
Clock's on. Okay. So I agree with Glendon 100%. Out of the pen, it's a different animal. I'm not saying you have to go 60, 70% fastball by any stretch. You do need to identify your swing and miss pitch. But the best example I can give you, or anybody who's watching and listening, if you go watch professional guys take breaking ball batting practice off a machine, the first round is kind of so-so. The second round gets a little bit louder. And the third round, it's a laser show. And so the more you throw a breaking ball, the more it dilutes the break, dilutes the effectiveness of the pitch, because you're showing them what the ball does. Now, granted, you can move it in and out. You definitely don't want to be throwing breaking balls up in the zone. You get hurt there. But then you get into effective velocity with the fastball too, where you can add 3 miles an hour or take away 3 miles an hour. So you have a 6 mile an hour spread just by putting the ball in and out, away from the hitter or into the hitter. So you really have, like Wayne said, you have 4 different pitches, just speed wise too. So you can effectively throw the same pitch and it be a changeup off the previous one. Mm-hmm. But when you go back to the breaking balls, you just look at it and you go how many of these can a guy see before he's on time? Now, there's been guys literally that I've thrown breaking balls to for an entire year simply because they weren't making the adjustment. Okay. Mm-hmm. But those are the rarefied cases.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't mean it.
Yeah, I stopped. I stopped.
No, I know. Well, you know what? Well, since you did bring it up, let's talk about the sweeper thing. It's not a real thing. And like you said, Twitter's not a real place.
That's
which is funny because I was watching, I think it was the Colin Quinn special, and he was kind of saying if all of the social media sites were in a bar, Twitter is the bathroom where everybody's doing a bunch of coke. So, it really is not a real place.
Well put.
So, talk about the sweeper a little bit. What the hell's the difference? It's you guys threw the ball for a living. Wayne, Sorry.
Yeah, let Wayne take it.
Okay, Wayne, I'm going with you.
It's just a slider from a different arm angle. I don't know why they have to classify it now as its own. David Cohn had a great one too, but everybody knew it was a slider. They're not going to change the name to a sweeper. I don't know why. It's just breaking balls are breaking balls from certain arm angles. It's just what they are. It's like kids ask me all the time, "Can you teach me a 12-6 curveball?" I'm like, well, you don't have a 12-6 arm angle. How are you going to throw a 12-6 curveball? You're throwing low 3/4. That's I don't see that happening, man. So I think I don't know, it's a gimmick, maybe to get people to try and go out and learn how to do it. I don't know. I really don't. I don't see the use in it.
Interesting. Go ahead, Will. I know you have thoughts here.
Ditto. It's just putting a new name on it.
Yep. Sexy.
It's like a car company rebranding something.
Yeah. Is there, Glendon, do you think there's a point to this? Is it like Wayne said? Is it just to try and drum up interest in spin rate and shaping?
It sure seems like it. I don't know what else it's doing. All the guys in the game and that have been around the game and that played in previous eras, it's a slider, and that's what we look. If it's got more horizontal break than other ones, then they classify it as that. Wayne brought up a great guy, David Cohen. I think of that immediately.
Absolutely.
Scott Service that I played with, the right-handed reliever, had a big old sweeper from down low. Tons of guys. Scott Sullivan, remember him back in the day? There's tons of guys that threw it. it is what it is. I think the information that guys get with their pitches is great, but renaming it 16 different things, I don't think changes the game. I don't think it draws any more interest. I think more or less the average casual fan would probably rather hear curveball, slider, split, and change, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
We're like 2 months away from guys throwing a rise ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's what's funny to me is, I mean, the last game I went to, I think it was an Angels game, Angels Pirates or something, and you look up at the board, and it's just almost every single breaking ball they're putting up pitch type on the board, and it's a sweeper, like 80% of them sweeper. Come on, I don't believe that whoever's sitting operating the board is I think it's just lazy. The sweeper. I
mean, the thing akin to that is a slurve.
Yeah.
There's a slurve.
Absolutely.
Like, undefinable. It's not 12-6. It's not tight slider. Yeah. What do we call it? It's both. It's
call it a slurve.
Is it a medium? Is it a large? No, it's a medium.
Yeah. Exactly. The Joey Lucchese,
Rocco.
right? Like I had Fuego in San Diego, and it's like, it was the most unusual pitch I've ever seen was his changeup that spins like a breaking ball, and they called it a churve. And it's kind of the same principle, but he's the only guy I've ever seen throw it. I mean, I could sit behind the plate and watch him throw that pitch, and I had a hard time figuring out whether it was a breaking ball or a changeup. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's real. That's real deception right there.
Yeah, it's impressive. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe they're branding for something. I don't know. Something's coming.
What's weird too is that it runs counterintuitive or contradictory to the premise that for about a 5-6 year period, it was stated that horizontal movement was easier to pick up and was actually detrimental to pitchers to get too much horizontal movement on a breaking ball. And there was a humongous focus on overhand 12-6 curveballs.
Yeah.
And now it's trending away from that, and you see everybody jumping on the sweeper bandwagon. Now, I mean, with data and stuff, you're going to see quicker adjustments as we move forward in the game because guys are picking it up, and then they'll copycat, and hitters are making better adjustments and game plans and things like that. But to have it happen so quickly is fairly odd.
Yeah.
Two seamers are fun now.
Yeah. I mean,
those were kryptonite. Those were kryptonite.
Good point. Yeah, I mean, we were all taught 30 years ago. I mean, we had coaches telling us, that you can spin a nice breaking ball off a high fastball with spin, and
you can
hopefully make them look the same, and it's no different now.
Right.
Interesting. Well, Rocco, I mean, we haven't heard from you yet, man. I mean, I know you have. I've seen some pointed words about the sweeper from you, talking to people, and I'm curious. I mean, what do you see?
I know the basis for it is the spin rates, and if it has a certain spin rate, it classifies it more as a sweeper instead of a slider. But I mean, to me, it's just a name. I mean, the cone pitch was the Laredo. Now, anybody who drops down on the sidearm is gonna, you're not gonna go call that Laredo. But if he did it today, I feel like that'd be up on the board. All right, it's a Laredo. It's a new pitch. All the nerds love it. Here it is. Comes from an arm angle of between 45 degrees and 20 degrees. So anything in that category is now going to be called a Laredo. So that's the way I see it. I mean, to me, I agree with just the simplicity of it. You have you need the breaking. The general fan wants breaking pitches. Curveball, slider, fastball, splitter, whatever. Throwing all these different names into pitches, where's it going to end? So, I mean, it doesn't add anything to the game for me. In 2 years, it'll be gone. That's what I think.
All right.
I can't believe they weren't putting up gyro ball when Dice K first came.
I was going to bring up
Right.
the Matsuzaka gyro ball
That's
as well.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe that was a slider.
That's all it was.
Yeah. Well, at least once a year, I'd say at least once a year, all of us run into somebody at a gas station that got cut from their high school team and threw a drop too. Remember, don't forget about that.
Oh yeah, drop ball.
Yeah,
Those are nice.
drop ball.
That's what they used to call curveballs.
Oh, man.
Drop
Yeah.
balls. Yeah, it's so funny, man.
Well, bringing up the gyro ball and Japanese pitchers, evidently, according to Rocco, Shohei Ohtani was pulled today in the top of the second inning of his start with arm fatigue while he was grabbing a side. It's if this is something, and like I said, I've been noticing, while he's been hitting home runs going on over a month now, he's just been grabbing at that same side. If this is something bigger, how do you see this affecting his free agency, if at all? Wayne?
Well, if it's serious, yeah, it's definitely going to affect his free agency. But if it's nothing, could be something. I think the sacroiliac isn't that located in the hip area. I believe so. Those can inflame and create problems for you, but easy to fix. If it's an actual real hip problem, that's going to affect a lot of stuff. People start questioning, his availability as far as being a two-way player now. But I hope it's nothing serious. He's great for the game. He's a great player. So I really hope it is. I don't know how you hold your hip and somebody says it's arm fatigue, but, I hope it's not serious.
Yeah. Well, as Will mentioned before we started, the Kazmatsui situation, they might kind of gloss over some stuff for good reason as well. But Will, do you think this? If you're put yourself, put your GM hat on. If you're a GM, you see this happening. Does this deter you whatsoever from going out and backing up the Brinks truck and trying to land Ohtani in the offseason? Or
if you get the cash to get the best player on the planet, yeah, you're going to get him.
Yeah.
You might ask for you might come down a little bit, but ultimately, you're in a pissing contest with everybody else who's got the same Brinks truck. So dude's going to get paid. He is, without a doubt, he's not the GOAT yet, but he is probably the greatest talent who's ever put a uniform on.
Yeah, it's hard to
just what he is doing. What he is doing is undeniable.
And Glendon, the same question to you. Does this give you any pause if you're the GM of a team that's going to go after him? Or are you just business as usual?
No, business as usual, in my opinion. Here's what I think is really, really incredible about him. I think of how we felt after going out and throwing 6, 7, 8 innings and 100+ pitches, what I felt like the next couple of days, and he's going back out and playing again. That's crazy to me. It's actually really hard to think he's going to sustain doing it full time the way he is, even though he's DHing, but still, just to swing the bat, run the bases, take BP, do all the stuff he's doing is unbelievable. As far as the contract goes, I would put him in the class of like an Albert Pujols. I think Albert Pujols' contract probably paid for itself early on in that deal, even though it wasn't good on the back end of it, but just with what he brought to that organization and marketing and everything else. I think Ohtani's the same way. I think no matter how much somebody spends on him, I think they're going to get their money back within half of the deal.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially international. You go to Angel Stadium, just the amount of Japanese advertising that behind the plate and, just on the walls. I think they have this really creepy ad of Japan's #1 cat treat, and it kind of is freaky and just these weird cats. And evidently Eduardo Escobar is terrified of cats, so I can't imagine that's helping him when he's standing at the plate seeing these friggin' cats staring back at him. But Rocco, since you brought to our attention that he got pulled, what do you think of that same question? Would you want, as you're a Mets fan, would you want Cohen to go out and break the bank and bring him in anyway? Just for, say it's the first 5 good years where he's a 2-year player, where he's a two-way player, or and just deal with the back end of it, kind of like what the Yankees have with Stanton now. What do you see? What's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Glendon. It's more than just a player on the field. That's a whole international identity for your team.
Right.
I mean, he's phenomenal. Of course, I want him. And shoot, even if he came over, had arm issues, had to go to the bullpen or only pitch sparingly, and even was just a DH, I mean, that's still the face of baseball right now. And even if that's a 2 or 3 year thing, and then you pay for it on the back end when he's a little less productive, that's fine by me. I mean, to me, he's the man in baseball right now. There's a lot of great young players, but like you said, he's probably the most talented guy to ever put on a uniform.
He'll pay for himself.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Cohen, being a businessman, he'll know how to figure that out. So if they do go out after him, which I don't think he'll end up in New York, but shit, I'd be happy if they did.
I mean, what's crazy is that whoever signs him, if he does go lame, gets injured, whatever, you just bag that half of him, and he's still in the conversation for top 3 at that position.
Yeah,
he's Garrett Cole and Julio Rodriguez. Just pick your poison. Oh, bummer, you have a sprained ankle. Okay, we'll just pick.
There's something else they might want to do too. It's like maybe not let him hit the days he pitches. That's a lot of energy to put out, man.
Mm-hmm.
Every 5 days. If you're going to hit anyway, just give him the 1 day off at least, the day he's pitching. That's a lot of energy to expend.
Or you put him in a modified rotation where you go, okay, pitch, no hit, no hitting on your game day.
Right.
And then the next day DHs.
Right.
And then give him first base or then give him the outfield, and you work him in like that. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to massage it.
Yeah.
So this brings us to our new segment called Moving On Up.
Well, we're moving on up.
This week, we are going to talk about the Chicago Cubs. A couple of you guys played for the Cubs. They're turning it on at the right time. What do you see with them? Can they sustain it? Can they get in? And how far can they go? I'll start with Glendon on this one.
I think they can sustain it. I do think they will get in, and they're going to be a fun team to watch down the stretch. They've got a great group of young talent, and their rotation has been throwing the ball pretty well, and their bullpen has been really good recently. So I definitely think they're missing Stroman because he was an all-star in the first half, and he's an innings eater, and he just pitches, and he keeps you in every single game. So it would be great to get him back. But Steele's been incredible. I think that, other than the inexperience in the bullpen, I think that they have the right makeup to be good down the stretch. And Bellinger's having a heck of a year as a comeback player.
All right, Will, what do you think about your old team here and what they're going to bring to the table the rest of the year?
There's a reason they call it the friendly confines. That place is the easiest ballpark in the world to play at when you're doing well, and the energy that comes out of that place when the fans get behind you, it snowballs. They're a young, energetic team. Like Glendon said, Cody's having a resurgence, but it is just a momentum factory at that place. So I like what they're doing. I think they can sustain it.
All right. How about you, Wayne? What are you seeing out of the Cubs and this young team?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I haven't gotten to see much of them this year. But anytime the Cardinals are in last place, I think you need to go hard at it, make a run at it. That's just different. See the Cardinals in last place in that division. Mm-hmm. But I like good stories. And to see the Cubs do this right now, it's pretty fun. And the Reds right there, the Brewers aren't going to run away with this. And, I think it'd be a really fun race down to the wire.
Rocco, a little NL Central. What do you see in the Cubs?
Yeah, same thing here with me. I mean, it's Cubs in Arizona as we're recorded here, both at 66 wins, and then Marlins, Reds, and Giants all at 65. So that's 5 teams for 2 spots.
Marlins.
Yeah. So
awesome.
I mean, it's great. I mean, that's going to be a great race. It's going to be Cubs have 7 games left with the Diamondbacks, so those are going to be some interesting games there. And they play a bunch against the Reds too. So their teams are playing each other. I'd love to see it. Cubs or Reds, either, yeah, as long as the Giants aren't in there. We got any Giants alum on this thing? That's right. That was what he heard. But I'd like to see the Cubs, Reds, Diamondbacks. They're all exciting young teams, and any of that combinations in there. It'd be great if Philly went on a long losing streak and got them out of there, but I don't think that's happening.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
It brings up the question: what the hell happened to the Cardinals this year? I mean, it's they didn't really lose too much, in the way of losing players in the offseason. So what the hell happened? I took the under on them this year on a different show, and I got lucky with that one. But what's going on in St. Louis, Glendon? What are you seeing?
Well, I think overall their pitching has struggled, and that's what holds you together throughout the long haul. I think they haven't pitched as well as they wanted to, and I mean, it is hard to believe when you've got Goldschmidt and Arenado in that lineup, man, that you're not in the middle of something, especially in the Central, because nobody's really gone over and above, from a record standpoint in that division. So that's what I would say.
Oh, how about you, Will? What are you seeing out of them?
I think they lost a bit of their identity. I mean, get second most World Series championships in the history of baseball, and you move away from a very, very consistent structure. And you went Tony La Russa into Mike Matheny, and then you change over Schilt and then Marmol, pretty quickly. You lose big pieces. Huge and Yachty, he's gone. Yeah. So there's an identity thing. Harrison Bader was there for a long time. Now you're not also getting production out of the guys that you were counting on. Your big name guys like Dylan Carlson, a kid that I coached in A-ball. I didn't teach him how to swing or anything like that, but all of those pieces together that were being counted on, plus a lack of that identity and the Cardinal way, what they pride themselves on, in my opinion, it kind of got that. It went down that route. Jack Flaherty he didn't pitch well the last couple of years.
I've read things about when Schilt just hated the way that the front office was running things, and they weren't really letting him manage the way he wanted to. I mean, does that? When then they brought in Marmol, I mean, is that legitimate? Do you think that's a legit critique where this is more organizational and the front office is kind of, like you said, changing their identity? Do you see that happening? And do you see that maybe that is an issue?
So I guess I was on with you and Roger McDowell, and he brought up the Braves. And if you look top to bottom on that coaching staff, you were talking about baseball lifers.
Yep.
Absolute dudes. And they're going to continue player development at the big league level. Now, one of the things that I noticed with the Cardinals when I was there coaching, phenomenal minor league system for player development. Because you always look up, and I mean, Glenn, you remember this when we were playing them, 18 times a year in the Central. I mean, they'd bring a new guy up, and you'd be like, I've never heard of this guy. And then he's all of a sudden a stud.
Yep.
He's just ready. And nobody's ever heard of him. He got drafted in the 14th round out of Eastern Illinois. And you're like, okay. I mean, case in point, Paul DeYoung. Like when he came up, he's like, he's a shortstop that's a converted catcher, and he hits 28 jacks. Mm-hmm. You go, where's this dude coming from? Because they develop beautiful. But I think that there is maybe some disconnect at the big league level. I mean, this is a guess, but there's a disconnect between tutelage and coming alongside the players, and maybe what's being promoted as how to do things and run things.
You bring up a great point when with the age, sorry, I'll cut that. You bring up a great point with the Braves coaching staff, from top to bottom. I mean, these guys, like I said, I think I said it to you the other day. I mean, even Sal Fasano is on the staff, as the catching coach. It's baseball guys, and I like you, and I believe there's a full disconnect there, and I think that's to use the Yankees as kind of the counter to the Braves, like you just don't have those guys there. I mean, they brought in Sean Casey, but I mean, you just don't have that group of guys. I mean, whether it's Ron Washington or Kevin Seitzer is the hitting coach in Atlanta. I mean, these guys. These are guys I grew up watching and that were really good players. And, that has to mean something. Wayne, in your opinion, we hear a lot of baseball guys getting pushed out of baseball positions, whether it's in scouting or coaching staff. What do you see happening there? And is that an issue with what's going on in St. Louis?
Well, I mean, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, I think there could be a lot of variables to this. That's definitely one. We just don't know. I mean, it could be multiple players just having bad years. It could be injuries. It could be problems in the clubhouse. It could be problems with the coaching staff, problems with the front office, anything. It just seems like there's a lot of things going on there. I don't think it's just one or two things. And I don't know the Cardinals organization well enough to put my finger on it. I just know that, like Will said, the consistency of the old days and continuity there, it's not in St. Louis anymore. It's not the same. Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with it because they were really respected for being that. The scouting and development, that's what John Schuerholz built in Atlanta and in Baltimore before that. And it's still there, and now it's coming back to Baltimore, and you see what's going on there. So I think there is a lot to be said about that. The continuity, let the coaches coach, let the managers manage, and get out there and play ball. I think players respond better to that too.
I mean, Glendon, I'll go to you on this too. And again, to Will's point, I mean, do you think a guy like Yachty retiring, I mean, does that kind of resonate through the clubhouse? Yeah, they brought in Wilson Contreras, but I mean, to lose a leader like that, a guy who's just been a rock and a constant in that lineup for so long and in that clubhouse for so long, I mean, can that really affect them like this too?
I think it can, and I think the like Will was talking about with the coaching staff, and then you bring in a younger manager that's controllable, right, so to speak, for the front office. If you're Goldschmidt or Arenado and you look down the bench and you need some positive reinforcement from somebody, are you gonna trust somebody who's sat there and coached 162 games for the last 20 years in the big leagues, or are you gonna trust Johnny Flo from some community college that puts balls on a tee? I mean, I'm nothing against those guys. Everyone coaches for a reason and all that, but I remember Wayne and Will tell you that when you go through these seasons and you're going through success and failure and you need people that have your back, those are the guys that you can confide in and that have your back. They trust, you trust them, they trust you, and they can help a lot. And a lot of it's mental, and we know that. So I think that they're underestimating how many good baseball guys. The Braves is a perfect example. I mean, you can't say anything more about those guys.
Absolutely.
That staff that they have. There's a reason. I guarantee you all those players in that clubhouse trust that staff.
They are built to last. That team is now. It's a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just incredible. Rocco, I know probably talking about the Braves is not going to be your favorite thing to do, but what are you seeing with them, man? I mean, we always talk about the guys in the front office and the spreadsheets and, the analytics guys, but then, on the field, it's baseball when they get in between the lines. I mean, that's gotta be the blueprint to success now, right? And, why is everybody so far behind when they see how this is working?
Right. And Will mentioned it when we were on with Roger McDowell and talking about this subject too. They're doing what we've always said. They're doing the best job, I think, of combining smart baseball with smart analytics, with smart front office management, and locking in all these young players with smart drafting and development. I mean, it's you can look at any angle of the Braves organization, and they should be the model for all of baseball. Whether they are or not, well, it remains to be seen. It's all sports are copycat leagues, so you'd hope that people follow that model of the Braves. Put baseball people in charge of baseball. Let them discern what's great about the analytics, what's not so great about the analytics. It's a machine. They have all parts working right. And in the way things are set up, if the analytics side of something isn't working the right way, if there's that disconnect between the baseball staff and the analytics or player development and scouting, that's when things go awry. So it'd be awesome to see. Teams would be smart to follow that model. The game is about young, exciting, athletic players, especially with a lot of these new rules. So Braves model should be the way to go. It's you look at the Mets, not that I bring them up because that's my team, but they're the opposite. They're older players, older roster. A couple of their younger guys aren't necessarily those dynamic, Ronald Acuna type of players. So that's the way it's going. It's a dynamic sport. It's the Braves guys are allowed to show their athleticism. They got the pitching to back it up, the pitching depth, and they got some smart baseball minds on the bench for sure.
So, of course, to the flip side of that, if we subtract 3 years on the calendar, we go. Every one of us is marveling at the analytics and the way that the Tampa Bay Rays have done things. And you go, okay, so I don't want anything I'm saying to be an indictment to the new generation, because there's validity there. Mm-hmm. There's a way to mathematically get yourself into position and to, put yourself at the cusp of a championship. If done the right way, you have to have, regardless if it's a baseball guy or a dude who knows every spin rate, who knows every probability of pitch selection, it has to be the guy who communicates. I love what Roger said on your podcast. He goes, they don't care. The players don't care what you know until they know that you care.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And if that mentality is in the dugout, it doesn't matter if the dude's 35 at the helm or 75.
Mm-hmm.
It matters that the player can go to him, trust him, and know he's going to get the answer, the boost, or the confidence. Sometimes a pat on the butt, sometimes a bleeding eardrum, whatever it is.
And trust is a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
Yeah, you got to earn it both ways.
That's right.
Well, this brings us to the loogie part of the show, where all of you guys get one shot at a pick here. I want to talk Rookie of the Year candidates. I normally wait until about this time of year to even start thinking about it. So in the AL and the NL, I personally have Gunnar Henderson, and I would assume it would be Ellie De La Cruz. That would be my two guys, for obvious reasons. But I want to go around and see what your thoughts are and take a pick, and we can revisit this shortly. But Wayne, go ahead.
I definitely have Gunnar Henderson. I've seen him play too much. The kid can just play. I don't know how they're going to judge Rookie of the Year, whether they're just going to look at stats pure and simply, which it should probably. They're looking at upside, who to market next. But Gunnar Henderson, that kid can play, man. He can just play. I really like watching him, and I've seen him play, enough against the Yankees. He gets up there. He gets after it, man. I really like his game. There's nothing he can't do out on that ball field.
And then how about the National League?
National League, Ellie De La Cruz is probably the sexy pick just because look at him. I mean, the kid plays awesome.
Yeah.
He's an athlete. The kid for Arizona is his name Carroll. Is that
Corbin Carroll? Yeah,
Yep.
he's right there with you, man.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, if he has a strong finish, I think he wins it.
I agree. I can absolutely see that happening. Glendon, who you got?
I got to go Gunnar Henderson in the AL, and I like Corbin Carroll in the NL. As sexy as Ellie De La Cruz is, which from a marketing standpoint, we already know how that works. But But I love Ellie De La Cruz. I've actually watched him twice live this year. I went up to Cincy and I've seen him 2 different games, and he's special.
Yeah.
But I think Corbin Carroll will probably have a larger body of work with really, really good numbers by the time the season's over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. And the odds-on favorites are Henderson and Carroll. So I was just kind of trying to be contrary. So I figured, what the hell? Will, who do you got for your Rookie of the Year candidates here?
Pete, repeat, and three-peat, man. It's the same guys. And the only knock you could take on Corbin Carroll, the only one, is that Ellie plays a more demanding position.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's the only knock you can put against him. But I think what Corbin Carroll means to that team, far more.
Yeah.
And frankly, what Arizona's doing, regardless, is thoroughly impressive.
Mm-hmm. Getting after it.
Yeah. They started off hot and they went through a terrible slide.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're still hanging in is incredible because they have guys. If you look at that roster composition, they have guys at the wrong times in their career to be doing as well as they are.
Yeah.
They've got aging vets and young bucks and very little in between.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're doing as well as they are, and if they make a push and keep sustaining it, good God, watch out.
I think that says a lot about Torey Lovella too. I mean, he's really doing a hell of a job managing that team. Surprised me.
Well, and Hazen's done a really good job of getting those guys in the organization.
So
I heard from a recently retired catcher friend of mine that Lovella was phenomenal.
Really
great manager, great to play for. Really good.
He seems like the players love him. I mean, he just seems like a good guy to really be running the show there. Rocco, same question. Who are your Rookie of the Year guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think
get weird with it.
I mean, it has to be Carroll in Arizona in the NL. He's only 9 homers away from a 30-30 season as a rookie. Ooh. I mean, if he hasn't clinched it yet, I mean that would just about do it.
That would do it.
Yeah, and you look at Henderson and what he's meant to Baltimore, and you got to go in that direction too. Those would be my picks. I hate to kind of be along the same lines, but look at a couple just Japanese guys to mention too: Yoshida on the Sox and Senga on the Mets. They be cool to see them. They'll get maybe some second and third place votes down there and get a little recognition that way. But Yoshida he was up around 320, batting 320 around the All-Star break, and he should finish around 300. And Senga will be probably top 5 in the NL and ERA. So, a little bit older rookies on that side, that Ichiro route. But just 2 interesting guys. But I think it's going to be Carroll for sure and Henderson, and not just their performance, but what they mean to their teams this year. But long term, I mean, we may look at this rookie class and see very good rookie class and see Ellie as the best player for sure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our final thoughts. We're going to go around, and it can be anything that you see happening. Just one final thought on anything you want, preferably baseball related, but if you found a place with a good burger, let me know. We will start this one with Will Ohman.
I learned Wayne's given name today.
We all did. That was a really interesting thing.
That was enlightening. Something that I've noted. I don't know. I'll go back to. I think it's shocking how well the Diamondbacks are doing in that division. Surprised the Padres haven't gelled and found a significant winning streak. And I think the Diamondbacks make the playoffs as the biggest surprise, perhaps, in the game. But I'm still going with the Orioles might get their first title.
All right, I like it. Rocco, surprise, you're up.
All right, I'll use my time since we're talking about lefties here, just to give a quick awesome story I heard from a fellow older generation lefty pitcher named Randy Lurch. who I just interviewed and read his book, which is phenomenal. He's going through some health problems, but he told the story of him and another lefty, Steve Carlton, a little bit more famous lefty. Steve Carlton took his .22 Magnum revolver out one day and decided to do target practice after some beers, I guess, in a game in the Phillies locker room that they thought was empty. So Randy Lurch and Steve Carlton are out there shooting their Magnum into lockers, putting holes in jerseys of players they didn't like. And they didn't know Bob Boone was still around. And Bob Boone was the catcher. He was getting some extra, treatment in the training room. And, he came running out like he was in the middle of World War II and didn't know what was going on. So awesome stories. Randy Lurch was an awesome guy. Like I said, going through some health problems. But we're talking about lefties here. We're with Southpaws, and just a great story with two lefties there. And Randy's book is God in the Bullpen. And like I said, just an awesome story of perseverance and recognizing mistakes and owning up on your actions. And then great baseball stories like Tug McGraw shitting his pants while wearing mesh underwear. And just, crazy stuff like that. So there's some more. There's another lefty for you. Lefty pitchers, right?
God, I just have a horrible vision of like a Play-Doh fuzzy pumpkin. Oh. Okay. Anyway, final thought. Wayne, we'll go with you. Tough. Big shoes to fill there.
Well, two quick things. One is I never expected to hear the phrase anal fissure in one of these conversations. That had me giggling the whole time.
That surprises you?
You just never know what you're going to hear. The other thing is, I think one good thing's happened in baseball this year where they've changed the schedules to where you don't have to play all the teams in your division as many times this year. And I think that could come to fruition as helping somebody get in the playoffs. I think you might see more teams in it over the years, and it's just one of those unsung things that kind of makes baseball more fun. That's one of those things people talk about. They should talk about making the game more fun. That's one of those little things I think they got right.
Yeah, I agree with you. Out of all the changes, I think that's the one that really hits the best. But Glendon, final thought from you, sir.
The Lurch story is awesome. I really like that. And fun fact, Bob Boone was my first major league manager.
Wow.
And I'll finish with this. If anyone Will has, I can't remember. Wayne, did you ever play with Maddox?
No.
Okay. If we talked about shitting your pants, that's an automatic.
Yeah.
That's an automatic winner in the fart game for any of you.
Oh yeah.
We saw Carlos Zambrano do it multiple times, so let's go ahead and finish with that.
No, okay. I got to tell a story.
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
I got to tell a story.
Go for it.
This piggyback. So, I can't remember what year it was, but my locker was one away from Z in Chicago. Now, so on one end you got Maddox, high rent district over by the food room, and then Zambrano was young at the time. It was his start day, and Maddox is a special guy. Glendon, would you agree he does gross things?
Yes,
I've heard about him.
Okay, so occasionally, if say the bathroom ran out of toilet paper, sometimes the sanitary socks bucket
I knew it.
got dipped into. Unfortunately, those items never made it to the trash. They would get replenished in the middle of the bucket.
Right back into it.
So I'm maybe 6 feet away from Z. He's getting ready. He's getting dressed, and he always put a pair of sannies on, and then his blue socks. Hiked up the pants so they were knickers, and he'd go out to throw. And he's getting dressed, and he pulls on his blue socks, gets on his pants, and he's like, "Something smelled like shit, man." Who fart? Excuse me. So he said, "Who fart? Who fart?" and we're just dying because he's losing his mind, and he's a big dude, and all of a sudden he pulls down the blue sock, and there's just a strip right on his left leg.
He's about to lose his mind. But then, from Maddox's point of view, it was like, what are they going to do? Like, I'm about to go to the Hall of Fame. Like, what is he going to do? Beat me up? No. Just total get out of jail free card.
Unbelievable.
Well, on that note, this is where we go to Rocco. Good luck not laughing after that one, man.
Top that.
Our ombudsman, Rocco Constantino, going to tell us what we screwed up, if anything, and I'm going to mute myself because I'm going to start laughing my ass off right now. Go ahead, buddy.
All right. Yeah, no screw-ups, just some additional stats and confirmations here. We talked about the 47 straight fastballs. We also mentioned before recording a couple other notable streaks like that. Bartolo threw 26 straight fastballs at one point when he took his perfect game into the 8th inning when he was 44 years old. Those fastballs average 93 miles an hour. And we mentioned Lance McCullers threw 24 straight curveballs against the Yankees in the ALCS 2017 Game 7. And that was to end the game and send them to the World Series. So those were some more streaks. Chris's Colin Quinn reference, it was that Facebook was like the bar and Twitter was like, he said, all the strangers in the bathrooms bar doing cocaine together because they talk in short bursts. They're talking about blocking people. And they're running around paranoid. So excellent there. Kaz Matsui, anal fissure surgery in 2008. Missed the second half of spring training and the first 3 weeks of the season. Recovery took a lot longer than expected on the anal fissure surgery. The Cubs, we mentioned how well they're playing. On July 20th, so just about a month ago, they were 8.5 games out and 6 games under at 45-51. Wow. Since then, they've gone 20-9 and have crawled back in and are hopefully carrying that momentum forward. Cardinals pitching, they're 23rd in baseball in ERA with 4.66, which I can't believe there's 7 teams worse than that. Wow. And that's about it.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for another eventful episode of Southpaw. Wayne Franklin, Glendon Rusch, Will Ohman, Rocco Constantino. Thank you. Let's do it again. That was too funny. Had a great time and always a pleasure having you guys on. And I'm Chris Vitali, and we will see you. He did change his fucking socks, right?
Yes, he did.